here. Narrow your fucking range. That's it. Range is the hands you are willing to play in poker, right? And so, like, will you play 7-6 offsuit? Will you play whatever? And he's like, if you are bad at poker, and you are, because you're watching this video and need to know the number one tip of poker, I'll tell you right now, you want to win your home game every fucking week? No problem. Only play the top 10% of hands. And here you go. I'm going to tell you all of them right now. Yeah. It's every pair. Yeah. You know, and then ace, king, ace, queen, no ace, jack, suited high connectors. So, like, jack, queen, king, queen. Yeah, right, whatever, right? That's it. It's like there's 24 hands. I think it was 24, 23 hands you are allowed to play. Yeah. And that is it. And every other hand, you're going to fucking fold because you are bad at poker. So the way you win is if you have the better cards. Right. That's what bad people do at poker. Have the better cards and win. And then his second, like the other video he made that was really popular, that was like, here's tip number 2. You're only allowed to fold or raise from now on.
As opposed to what?
No checking.
Oh.
That's it. Either you think you have the better cards and you should raise, or you don't and fucking fold, stupid. Right. Like, what are you hoping on, luck? Yeah. Like, you can't read these people. You either have the better, you know. Yeah. And I wish I knew what to say for that, for debate. For the, like, just fucking narrow your range, kid. Stop trying the bullshit. Like, just do the thing that, like...
Well, I mean, it blows my mind that people don't go to tournament after tournament and can't debate poverty. Like, when I ask these kids, how many people in America are in poverty? You don't know. It's like, oh, but you talk about the economy a lot, right? And that's what that's what we end up having to do on my team, getting ready for state nationals, when they're writing their own topics, right? Or writing their own debates. And you cross the topics, whatever, they're prepping themselves. It's like, well, you should pick 4 things, 5 things you're going to try to make every debate about. Yeah. And know how to talk about those things. Because you're not at the level yet where you can turn anything into a strong enough debate argument. And these things come up often enough. If you have no way of relating the issue of poverty, climate change, or like political backlash to a given topic, right? Fuck it, you lost one, right? But yeah, and you're probably not going to be the number 1 team at the tournament, but you're going to be way better off winning that 80% of rounds that we can predict right now than you're going to be well off, like, having no preparation.
This is quite literally the first thing me and Dallas did when we became partners, right? Like, I had talked to her ahead of time, convinced her to be my partner, and part of that discussion was I said, look, you just tell me what you want me to know more about than anyone else, and I'll do that, and that's it. And she said, you need to know about Israel and Korea, and I'm going to just worry about Russia and the economy. In every single debate, teams, like, dreaded having to have, like, straight-up debates with us with, like, advantages and disads. Because if you can't make an advantage or disad involving, like, any government into something about North Korea, South Korea, Israel, or Russia, or the fucking economy writ large, like, you shouldn't, like, what are you even doing, right? Like, we just kept dragging teams... Yeah, we just kept dragging teams into our wheelhouse, and the thing was, like, on the question of, like, styles or whatever, or, like, high percentages... Eventually, if you are good, right, and people are making their threat lists or whatever, people start thinking they know your style or whatever, right? Yeah. And, like, against us, for instance, right, the easiest way to beat us, right, this is how Berkeley beat us all the time, this is how Lewis and Clark would beat us on occasion, even when we were, like, better than a team, right? They'd just be condo. They would just be conditional and read a bunch of stuff, or they would read case. They just read, like, 2 counterplans and then nothing but case arguments. Yeah. And, like, our only out in that instance was just going to be going for condo, right? And if we're in front of a judge who doesn't like condo, we're going to lose. But the thing is, everyone else was convinced. They're like, oh, my God, all Pacific does is practice reading condo, dude. We don't want to be condo again. Somebody can't be condo, dude. They'll fuck us up. And they just had no idea that we were dreading the day that someone came in and just had, like, you know, like Berkeley would do to us. You just body us, just reading, like, 3 Ks or whatever, right? Because, like, we just weren't fast enough. And I think that that's it. Like, you have to know your wheelhouse and know what you're strong at and develop a style. But that's down the road, dude. Yeah. Like, if you're a first-year varsity student, that is not you. Yeah. You just need to learn how to debate the basics, right? Yeah. The econ debate, the hedge debate,
right?
Topicality, depending on the format, topicality, right? And then, like, I don't know,
get good at that stuff.
Get good at that, and then
you'll win 80% of your rounds.
Yeah, most of your one of the most common questions in prep, even from like fairly high level competitors, which is odd, is just like, what if they say this? And it's like, then you answer it. That's it. I can't prepare you for every scenario ever. Right. It's like, what if they read like this K we've never heard of? Then you're gonna lose.
And hopefully you're gonna deal with it. I don't understand. What if they don't? Would it be a waste of our time to talk about it right now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's more likely that they don't say that. You've got to
prep the highest probability like outcome, right?
Yeah. And it's not that hard to figure out what the highest probability things to be talked about, especially in a format of debate with a set topic. With that also said, what I don't see people doing very much, we come from Parley. And what a lot of people don't realize about Parley when they're thinking, oh my god, 20 minutes is not enough time to prepare a debate, is you don't prepare for the debate in 20 minutes. You prepare for the debate over the course of weeks or months. And then you take 20 minutes deciding how to use that stuff that you have, right? It's like extemp. Nobody is getting an extemp question and in their 30 minutes of prep being like, what is the story behind this whole, like, Trump investigation story, right?
Nobody's good.
Right, nobody who's good is researching that for the first time. They have all this shit prepared, and they just get 30 minutes to decide how to use what they have to best answer this question. And that's exactly the same way Parley is, but additionally, it's the same way all debate is if you're good, right? Like, a good policy team, forget theory and forget, K or whatever, are reading a lot of the same arguments year to year, topic to topic, right? Like, even if it's something like space debris, right? You just know of this thing that could happen and it meets these criteria for this is a high magnitude, relatively high probability thing.
That's why if you go on like forums like CrossX or whatever, like when people ask the same question, like people are like, oh yeah, that's Tuck and Yang 98. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Tuck and Yang 98 or whatever. And it's like, we're talking about a very specific like journal article or book, right? Yeah. And yet everyone knows it because it comes up all the time.
Right. And that's the way like good coaches are, right? If you look at
Kagan 07, that's the nuclear war one everyone knows. Yeah.
So look at like these topic discussions or whatever. As soon as a new topic comes up, all the coaches are like, well, you run these 4 arguments, right? And usually they're pretty good, unless sometimes they're not. But the point being that even though the topics are diverse, there is a finite number of outcomes that can affect an entire nation that matter, right? There's a finite number of issues that affect a large number of people very significantly. And as long as you know what triggers those issues and how to advocate for their importance, all you're doing in the research is figuring out how this topic triggers this issue. And some teams will only read the literature on that topic. For example, you can read the literature on H-1B visas to your heart's content, and they will never mention Ebola, right? No researcher or academic talking about H-1B visas is gonna mention Ebola. They might mention doctors and shortages in places related to H-1B visas and people who are doctors there taken out of that community, but they're never going to talk about Ebola. But if you know a little bit about pandemic arguments and you hear that, then you just make the next step, right? I think a lot of people, especially in like public forum, aren't doing the logos in debate, which to me, logos is making connections between different pieces of evidence, right? My Ebola evidence mentions nothing about H-1B visas. My H-1B evidence says nothing about Ebola. But if I have an argument that says H-1B visas are taking people out of these areas, taking doctors out of these areas.
Sort of general brain drain stuff.
Right. I have another card that says this area is being ravaged by Ebola right now. And then a third argument for how Ebola is a very significant argument. Like, that's what I need to be running. And unless you have the sort of top-down view of debate, what are the issues, what are the, for lack of a better word, generic arguments, the common things that come up a lot that I need to be ready to talk about, you're not going to research a H-1B to a point where you're going to, like, land on that. You're just going to be lost in the weeds of whatever the research on H-1B is saying, which is never written from a debate perspective. It's never written from a, well, what is the biggest issue that this could somehow relate to, which is what debate's about.